Oh, wonderful. Another athlete, domestic violence. Did you hear about the Purdue basketball player who's getting sued because he allegedly gave herpes to a woman without time? I mean, that's low class. Tri-City Sports Now, I'm Marky Billson. Well, I do want to talk a little bit about hockey. We are the first radio station in the Tri-Cities market to ever broadcast a hockey game. Began with last year's All-Star game from Los Angeles. I have a couple of NASCAR notes here. I want to thank Matt Yocum for joining. I know that we had a circumstance where he, called in right in the middle of the show and all that. Well, that's the case there. He talked about bundling sponsorship in the future. Of course, Yocum is going to be, very optimistic, kind of pie in the sky. I mean, NASCAR is what he knows. However, he did have a point of, will the segments be the future? And said that's the year it changed in NASCAR, maybe like it did in the late 60s when it went from being pure stock to let's add some more on, let's add on. And by the 70s, really only the front of the car was stock, this sort of thing. But like I said, I also want to thank Alex Daugherty on the Forecheck. The Predators really, I think, are the favorite, the biggest favorite of any of the teams in the first 8 playoff series. You heard about the Pittsburgh Penguins. You had to have heard about the Pittsburgh Penguins just destroying the Flyers. 7-0, a natural hat trick for Sidney Crosby. Let's listen to it now. I think we'll listen to it now. Well, maybe we won't listen to it now. Let's try that again.
Great play coming all the way back that time at the defense by Brandon Manning. Dumoulin. Out in front, tipped in. Hat trick. Sidney Crosby.
And that was a natural hat trick, and Sidney Crosby giving fans, when the game had been decided, something to watch now, the individual effort. Crosby, when he took, I thought physically, the Stanley Cup series away from the Predators and PK Subban last year in the Stanley Cup Finals back in Game 5, now, making the statement as well. A lot of people say, oh, look at the Lightning. They've got the best record. They've got to get past a real tough New Jersey team that's hot. Has Taylor, the only thing about New Jersey that people are saying they can't get past the Lightning is that they're inexperienced. Well, I don't know. Their goalie, Keith Kincaid, who had a nice year with 26 victories, he, 28 years old. It's kind of interesting that Taylor Hall, who a lot of people think is going to win the Hart Trophy, if you're not familiar, that is MVP of the league. He's played 529 games. This will be his first playoff game tonight. Yeah, I think of the and I'm like, Devils, they haven't been in the playoffs so long, really, Can they stop Steven Stamkos and country? Stamkos is said to be nursing some injuries. The thing, though, is that the Devils have swept all 3 games against the Lightning this year. That's intriguing. Another storyline is, can the Washington Capitals actually, once in their life, make a postseason run? You've got Alexander Ovechkin, and you can't get out of the second round. What's going on here? Well, here's Barry Trotz to talk about the anticipation for the Capitals in the playoffs.
Patient, everybody, this is the best time of the year.
It's the best time of the year. He's saying nothing.
Jay drives a lot of different things, and obviously the right-hand face-offs, his trademark, one of the best in the league. But he's one of those guys that talk about all-in attitude. But come playoff time, everybody's got all in attitude. So hopefully the guys, Chandler, other guys are stepping in those roles, so they'll make up for the loss of Jay.
So Jay Beagle is out. It sounds a lot like a lamb being led to slaughter, the Capitals right there, does it not? They play the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight. Let's go back to yesterday's game. I mentioned the Penguins really routing. And, as I said with Alex Daugherty, last year when the Predators swept the Blackhawks, that's when you said, wow, something special could be brewing there in Music City. I know it's one game, but to so totally dominate the Flyers, who were hot, who only had 2 points fewer than the Penguins this year, well, still need 3 victories, and the Flyers need 4, but 7-0. Murphy posting his 5th career shutout in the postseason. Impressive. Yeah, it was most impressive. Don't let anybody tell you it wasn't. But really, I thought maybe the story is continuing to be... What's the best sports story this year? I remember hearing the Masters. Oh, if Tiger Woods wins the Masters, it'll be the best sports story this year. He didn't. He finished 32nd. So, what's the best sports story this year? Maryland-Baltimore County beating Virginia in the first round of the NCAA tournament? What's the best sports story? The Eagles winning the Super Bowl? Let's start at 1998. Something in the way of I don't know. I'm trying to think about the Olympic Games and such, but, it often seemed like, I'm trying to think, Lindsey Vonn won only a bronze medal. The Americans did not medal. In hockey, you had, what's the best American sports story coming out there? Maybe it is the Vegas Golden Knights, the best expansion team ever. Ever. Could a team actually win the Stanley Cup in their first year? Well, Shea Theodore wants to make it happen.
Big collision again along the boards. Kings are after the puck. Thompson tries to play it to a safe spot. Nosek has it back in the Kings net. He pivots out. Goes on top. Shot, Theodore, score!
Here's James Neal. You remember him from the Predators. Now he's with the Golden Knights. And, he talked a little bit about the excitement of that goal that you just heard, winning the game for Vegas 1-0.
I think all year we've tried to be a consistent team and work towards this, but the excitement was building all day. I think guys were ready to get this one underway, and we felt good.
Now let's just hear the final call, because it really is a historic event. You're talking about a team not far off of the Stanley Cup championships themselves in the Kings, getting shut out. There was even, I don't know if anybody saw it, I hope you did, but there was a pre-game kind of ceremony, pump up the crowd, and you had a Golden Knight kind of jousting with a man with an LA Kings flag, and taking the flag away from the, pseudo-Kings mascot and all that. There was an environment. Hey, Vegas knows how to put on a show, right? And here is the final call of their postseason victory, the first one in team history in their first season.
5 seconds remaining. It goes around the boards. The Las Vegas Golden Knights win their playoff opener. They all come off the bench, and exchange hooks with Marc-Andre Fleury, who pitches a perfect game. 30 for 30. Fleury with the shutout. Shea Theodore with a goal way back in the first period. And it is pandemonium here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
It's always pandemonium in Las Vegas, Nevada. I will reiterate, though, I'm going to say 28 years ago, Tri-Cities in Las Vegas, same media market size. And one of the ways that Las Vegas grew, obviously, why wouldn't you want to move to Las Vegas, right? That sort of thing. But one of the reasons why they were able to grow into a top 40 market, and last I saw, it was at 28 years ago, the Tri-Cities, I think, were they were 92nd. I think they're the 97th TV market now. The top 100 market, there are 210 TV markets. Imagine a TV market, instead of the country being broken down into states, imagine greater metropolitan areas. It's the best way I know how to put it. So Wise, Virginia is still part of the Tri-Cities, if you will. And Lincoln, where is Lincoln? Harrogate, Tennessee is kind of part of Knoxville and all that. It's a long way away, but it's like, well, if you want to drive into town, this is the closest big city, one of those things. If you can break down, just consider this into the country into 210 different market sizes, then we'd be in the upper half here in the Tri-Cities. And we were one time same size as Las Vegas. I remember seeing that and saying, wow, area is bigger than I gave it credit to being. And one of the ways Oscar Goodman grew his metropolitan area was through sports. They always had the fights. You know that. I mean, they always had UNLV. Although I guess I say always in the 60s. I mean, they were in a D1 basketball program and this sort of thing. They always, but yeah, they grew up with the city. And there was Goodman saying, you know what? You can have an NHL team in Las Vegas. You can have an NFL team. It was at one time thought to be preposterous. But now, attitudes towards gambling in sports are a bit more lax. In fact, the players' unions of all the four major team sports, it's race week. I refuse to call them the four major sports because I do think that NASCAR could qualify and be one of, five major sports, if you will. Although, I guess you have racing teams, but, it's just not quite the same. Point here was that Oscar Goodman, mayor of Las Vegas, sought out. There are, lax attitudes now on sports gambling because at one time it was, Vegas can't have teams. They gamble there. Now, the players' unions all came out with a statement, and I invite you to read it on my personal Twitter feed, Marky Billson. I've retweeted it. A statement basically saying, we know this is coming. We know that people are, that sports and gambling, they're going to start getting into bed with each other, be it with FanDuel or the fantasy sports or what have you. But we want you to know that we don't want to be pawns here as players. If you, the NBA, are talking about taking 1% of every bet cast by, say, a state lottery, we want in on that action too. You can read that statement on my own personal Twitter feed. You'll also see my statement of what do I think would bring NASCAR back? How about pari-mutuels at the tracks? Think about it. I mean, no, you want to not talk about what would bring NASCAR back. And I'm not saying they should. There's a two-sided argument for this. But yeah, it's one thing to bet a football game. I'll double my money if my team wins by more than 3 points. It's another to have, just like the Kentucky Derby or something, hey, you know what? Kyle Busch, he won all 3 races last weekend at Bristol, and he's running at, I'd have to check what the odds are, but I can get more than 2-1 on him this weekend at Bristol, if they even run the race. Other matchups, let's say, of course, the Predators and the Avalanche. Really, most people are just predicting the Predators to have no problem. However, this is what the Avalanche, Mikko Rantanen, is talking about the Predators.
So the series is always different than like World Juniors semifinals because it's only one game, and or final is only one game. So it's different because it could be 7 games. So you face the same team all the time. You learn what they do, and so it's different. But so I think this is probably the best experience this can be.
Well, remember what I said that the only hope for Colorado is their top line Rantanen is part of that top line. And Roman Josi, defenseman of the Predators, reiterates what I'm telling you.
They're a great line. I mean, they've been playing really well all year. Obviously, McKinnon has an unbelievable year, and then two other guys too. So, yeah, we got to make sure we play them hard. They're, like I said, they're a great line, and they do a lot for our team for sure.
The NBA playoffs begin this weekend. Who cares? You know, the 8 seeds don't beat the 1. It's probably now as likely for the 16s to beat the 1 in the NCAA tournament. But the NHL playoffs, now, this is some drama right now. And so, as I said, the other series that are facing off today, I mentioned Capitals and Blue Jackets. Let's see here, Capitals, they're almost in that, we've got to make a run thing, or else Alexander Ovechkin has really been, since he came in, it was supposed to be Ovechkin and Crosby, and that just has become a rivalry that Crosby has dominated. You got the Bruins and Maple Leafs, a couple of original 6 teams. Maple Leafs won that season series 3-1, but the Bruins are favored to win that series. We mentioned the Penguins beating the Flyers. Jets beat the Wild. Wild, a lot of people think, might be the worst team in the playoffs this year, but they beat them 3-2 in a competitive game. I'll say this. The only writer on theforecheck.com that didn't pick the Predators to go to the conference finals was a writer named Kate R., and she picked the Jets to play the Sharks. Kind of a West Side Story feel there, huh? But San Jose also faces off tonight in what they've had the Battle of PA with the Flyers and Penguins. Well, how about the Battle of CA with Anaheim and San Jose? And remember, San Jose went to the Cup finals 2 years ago. By the way, the Jets, after their victory, they've defeated the Wild in matchups, including the playoffs, 4 out of 5 times this year, so they are looking good, especially with their 1-game lead in the playoffs. The Ducks are the higher-seeded team, but the Sharks and Ducks, I've got this that they played, let's see here. Anaheim actually has played very well at home this season. You should know that. The Sharks won the season series against the Ducks. However, I am going to be talking to Dr. Richard Sander, the former athletic director of East Tennessee State. I began this segment, or this show, talking about how the FBI probe that is going on in the NCAA, could that cause the Big 5 conferences to go away? And what is Dr. Sander doing now? What does he think of what's going on at ETSU? Hey, Jeff Capel was hired as Pitt's head basketball coach. He hired him. He gave him his head coaching start. It's Tri-City Sports Now. Watch us on the 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities Facebook page, or listen to AM 1420 in the Tri-Cities. We're coming back after this.